found my pack or my community through like a pack and community of kids that also just were kind of parentless. So I was kind of immersed in science from a young age, but right about age 13, my parents split up and he moved overseas. He moved to Denmark and my mom was really struggling with the breakup and I wasn't in contact with him anymore. So I had this really unusual childhood where, we didn't talk about sports, we talked about science. And I had this close relationship with science and the people around science. But then all of a sudden, the structure around family, instead of dinners together every night, it was just like me and my mom. Mm-hmm. And I was an adolescent, and I was hitting puberty. So, there was bound to be some shifts in my world landscape and internal landscape anyway. But basically what happened was I stopped really paying attention to school and I got really heavily into skateboarding and kind of punk rock music. And I found my pack or my community through like a pack and community of kids that also just were kind of parentless. So this was like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And so at a pretty young age, I started I grew up in Palo Alto. I was actually born at Stanford Hospital. And started taking the 7F bus up to San Francisco and hanging around in Embarcadero. For the skateboarders out there, the listeners, this is the now famous EMB crowd. So this was the birth of a huge movement of skateboarders that became professionals. So you'd see the young Danny Way would come through town, or you had Rob Dyrdek, I remember when he came through. So all these names that eventually became popular during the kind of X Games era but at that time it was really underground. And so it was this pack of maybe 100 guys and it was run like a little city and it was chaos. It was like there was fights and there was drinking and there was lawlessness. There was also a lot of amazing skateboarding.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of amazing people. And there were some older guys, like one in particular, a very famous skateboarder is this kid, Mike Carroll. His older brother was kind of like the older brother to everybody, kind of kept us all in check. So it had its own unique organization. And it's actually interesting because the same thing was happening at that time in Washington Square Park in New York and at Love Park in Philadelphia. There were all these like communities of kids that were basically parentless. And so in that time, I saw some interesting things.